So I worked in marketing before, and now I work in the sales team in Google Ads. And like I said at the very beginning, we've been working with Google Ads for a very long, with Azure for a very long time, and now we'll talk about marketing because if you've made a really cool game with fine-tuned metrics and that users enjoy, you have to promote it. And as we can see, the competition is really tough. And to make your game noticeable, you really have to use marketing and user acquisition. I hope that this is quite clear. And let's dive into it. What are the marketing trends of hyper-casual advertising? So first of all, a few notable metrics about the collaboration of our team with Azur Games. We've done plenty of game launches. I think we have more than 200 accounts, ad accounts in our system for Azur. So yeah, I think that half of them were definitely quite successful. We test a lot of new products that are not available to the general public, and yeah, plenty of new stuff coming out. And we also run business reviews to find new growth opportunities regularly. So this is all that we do. And what are the trends that we are going to talk about today? So you can talk about trends all day long, I think. This is what we do today. But I want to focus on three major things. Long-term value-based optimization. And we'll see in a minute what it means and why it's important. Hybrid monetization that I hope that everyone is on board with at this moment, and I think that a few words have been already said about it. And then the privacy changes, which are a hot topic for the overall industry and for hyper-casual in particular. So let's start with the general user acquisition trends and marketing trends in hyper-casual. So from burst campaigns to long-term optimization, what it means. Basically, in the previous years, especially during COVID, where when everyone and their grandmother were playing games, we saw the curve on the left, which represents the volume of installs after a game launch in time. So you can see that there is a big burst of installs at the very beginning, and then it kind of dies down really quickly, and this is how the majority of game launches, especially in hyper-casual, were done. So yeah, this is specifically for hyper-casual. What we can see now, starting from last year especially, is the curve on the right, which kind of looks like an elephant. So you can see that there is no burst at the very beginning, and then the slope is much less sharp. So the optimization of campaigns, the optimization of apps, of games, and just the overall operation of a game are much more stable and much more longer. I think that anyone who works in mobile gaming for a long time knows that this is pretty much the same thing that happened with the overall mobile gaming industry. So back in the beginning of like the 2010s, we could see the same strategy on the left for casual, for mid-core games, when it was all about having a big burst of installs at the very beginning, getting to the top grossing, and then it was basically a done deal. Shortly after that, in a few years, obviously it all came to long lifetime of games and long lifetime of ad campaigns and marketing. So this is not a big deal in my opinion. I think that this is just a signal of the maturity of the industry, and we just need to take it into account when we think about our marketing. So where does it bring us from like the practical point of view? So before, the approach was to bring basically as many users as possible for the lowest CPI possible. And we noticed for a big number of hyper-casual advertisers that their main goal, their main KPI for new projects was low CPIs, basically. because it meant that you can actually achieve the scale of volume that you need and to have a successful launch. And basically, a quick and dirty approach worked because you could only produce like a few creatives, run a few campaigns, and then the competition. The low competition allowed you to be successful with this kind of approach if the game was viral enough. What we can see now is that even for viral games, this no longer works, unfortunately. You have to pay much more attention to how you think of your marketing strategy. You have to adopt a test and learn approach that would allow you to basically learn how to work with your title, and that can take some time. And this is a very normal thing for more IAP genres, like casual mid-core genres. But this is quite new for hyper-casual. Of course, privacy changes also play a big role in this, and creative optimization, which we will also talk about in a bit. And we can see advertisers also using more complex campaign types. What does it mean? This is the overview of the campaign types that we in Google have. This is like an illustration. Most major ad networks, they have similar campaign types. They're just called differently, but this is a concept that is very prevalent on the market. So you have install campaigns, which are basically like you bid on an install and this is it. And this is what I said was used before, mainly for hyper-casual apps. Then you have TCPA campaigns, for example, the app campaigns for actions, where you have a specific goal for an action, like an ad whale or a in-app purchase or a paying user or whatever, level, anything that you can imagine. And then you have the most advanced bidding strategy, which is target ROAS, where you actually have a ROAS as a target for your campaign optimization. You say, like, I want to get 30% ROAS on day 7, and this is what the campaign optimizes towards. And it sounds very nice. Like, you don't really have to do a lot of things with it because it already optimizes toward your ROAS. This is actually a very complicated campaign type to operate, to manage as a UA manager, for example. There is a very fine balance that you have to have for campaigns in general and for TROS campaigns especially, because if the bid is too low, the campaign will not scale and you will not be able to kind of make your game huge with it. But if the bid is too high, like if you bid too much on an action or too low on a ROAS, like if the bid is really relaxed, then the campaigns will scale too much and won't be profitable. So you always kind of have to have this delicate balance. And basically what it means in terms of like the metrics that you see typically in these campaigns is that the more advanced a campaign is, the higher you have to bid and the lower the install volume will be. So for example, if you have app campaigns for installs, the bids are much lower because you basically you want to get everyone that will likely download your app, and the amount of installs or actions will be much higher. And the contrary is true for TROS, for example. And we can see that actually this campaign type is much more prevalent now for hyper-casual advertisers, and most of our advanced advertisers are switching to this campaign type, which is important because this is, like I said, this is like a long process of optimization. You have to wait a long time for the campaign to gather enough signals to operate. It requires more creative optimization. It requires more attentive optimization. So you basically step into the territory of casual advertisers. In general, we see that casual and hyper-casual advertisers, in terms of their marketing, are drifting closer together. And it's happening not only on Google Ads, but on the market in general. And here's an external case for Voodoo. We also use this campaign type with Azur, but this is like an external case that we have, which I thought would be cool to share with you today, because it shows the cool results that they got. I won't linger too much on this slide because it's really like information heavy, but just like value-based optimization to us actually works, is the main takeaway. The complicated thing for hyper-casual advertisers is actually how to transfer the revenue data, because if you have in-app purchases, it's fairly easy. But when your revenue comes from a third-party source and it's not actually yours and it's not broken down into cohorts, then you have to do some manipulations. These are the three integration types that allow you to transfer your data into Google Ads, which is like the conversion tracking is codeless, seamless with Google Play. Obviously not for iOS apps, but for Google Play, it's available. The two most prevalent conversion measurement types are Firebase and third-party app trackers like AppsFlyer, Adjust, whatever. So we will focus today on Firebase, which allows you, first of all, to run 2 browse campaigns. And then we have some data that shows that it works better for campaign optimization, and advertisers see an uplift when they switch to Firebase. So this is what we are talking about today. And it shows the overall flow that you can use in order to pass the ad revenue data to Google Ads. So first of all, you integrate the Firebase SDK, which is fairly simple. Then you log in the conversion events, and for in-app ad revenue optimization, you have to specifically use the ad impression event. And then you basically just link the Firebase account to Google Ads, which is also quite intuitive. And then you can use this conversion to optimize your campaigns. So a few tips on how to do it if you do it yourself. Try to use shorter conversion windows. Conversion windows are the time frames that you set up for each conversion, during which the campaign algorithm actually waits for the conversion to come. So if you have a 1-day conversion window, then the campaign will wait for 1 day for the conversion to occur, and then it will close the conversion window, and that's it. For hyper-casual advertisers, for whom typically conversions come quite early, because it's basically ad impressions and ad revenue, it happens quite quickly. Unlike, for example, in mid-core games, when the conversion can happen like in a month or in a week. It's quite beneficial to use these shorter windows. Prepare several creative concepts. So one will probably not allow you to scale, to be honest. Target multiple geos in one campaign, based on your audience, on language, on other metrics that you might have in mind, and use a more competitive bid at the beginning, especially in order to allow for the campaign to gain volume. This is it for the value-based optimization. So hybrid monetization. I suppose that this is a hot topic for hyper-casual, integrating both in-app purchases and in-app revenue ad revenue, sorry, in games. So we have a tool for that as well in terms of marketing. And it's not even a tool, basically. It's just, if you didn't know, if you set up an app campaign in Google Ads, then you can select several events. You can select an in-app purchase event and an ad revenue event for the campaign to optimize towards. And it's really cool, especially if you have if your in-app revenue is not like 5%, but if it's like 20%, then it's pretty cool. Moving on to privacy. So this is a really, really long topic. I just want to say a few words about the whole topic of privacy in context of hyper-casual. So when ATT was first introduced and became a topic of discussion, there were a lot of people who said that this will be the end of hyper-casual as an industry, which didn't come to life, thankfully. And we actually see some advertisers who are very successful on iOS, even on Google Ads, which is historically it performs better on Android. It's not the end of the world, and you can learn how to work with it. We can still see that the majority of revenue in games still comes from iOS, especially in tier 1 markets in the US, etc. And actually, quite a lot of users give consent to tracking. So what you can do with it and what is worth bearing in mind. So I'm sure that all of you know how ATT works and what it implies, just in case there is anyone who doesn't know. Basically, ATT changed how attribution works. So you can still see all the actions and the conversions on your side, but there is difficulty in attributing the exact events that happened to the source, for example, the marketing source, the UA source that brought them. So before it was pretty straightforward. You had IDFAs for all users. Now some users are missing IDFAs, the majority of users are missing IDFAs, so you can't actually attribute them correctly and accurate and deterministically to an app campaign. Yeah, so I'm sure that all of you know that Apple has a tool called Scan, Cascade Network, and this is what we actually advise to use when it comes to iOS measurement. So this is a whole topic in and of itself. I think that you can talk about it for 20 minutes and still have some questions unanswered. There's no correct way to measure the effectiveness of iOS campaigns for everyone. Because it all depends on the analytical system that you have, on the KPIs that you have, etc. But use Scan and set up the Scan schema to reflect your KPIs as much as possible. This is a really complicated topic. I don't think that anyone on the market has found the silver bullet yet, but we are working on it. And yeah, optimize your ATT prompt. So collect consent from users. Don't think that this data is irrelevant. It actually really helps campaigns, I think, in all networks to optimize better. And yeah, figure out what measurement approach works for you by, again, a test and learn approach. And yeah, a few words about Privacy Sandbox. Now, it's basically a solution that pursues a similar goal of retaining the privacy of users and giving them more control on what they want to share with advertisers and networks. And one of the recent developments in Privacy Sandbox is the Privacy Sandbox beta that opened up on Android a few weeks ago, I think, maybe the week before last, and it will roll out gradually, as they announced. Right now, there's a portion of users on Android 13 devices that can opt in the beta, and they already have these controls of what they want to share and what they don't want to share with advertisers. And if you're an app developer, which is your case, then you have to reach out to your third-party providers, to the monetization networks that you work with, in order to learn more about their roadmap and how they are going to implement it. But from a user standpoint, then if you have an Android device, you can maybe already use it. And a bonus track, the creatives. So like I said, creatives are becoming a staple in campaign optimization and improving campaign performance. And they're becoming more diverse and more complex. I think that what Dasha talked about previously about TikTok trends and short video trends really resonates with that. So a few words about our approach to creatives. So in Google App Campaigns, you can upload different assets, like different images, videos, texts. They're then combined into actual ads, how users see them. So it's like a combination of different things. You can have a text in a video or an app icon in a text, depending on the placement of the app, of the ad. Optimize and maximize the amount of assets that you upload and the creative concepts that you use. Don't upload just one text and one video and that's it. Try to upload as many as possible in order for the campaign to perform better. There's different approaches to how to produce different creatives and how to think about creative concepts. Basically, you have to think about the end user and why they should come to play the game. Whether it's for you want them to be engaged and you want a certain audience to be really engaged and watch a lot of ads, or you want a different audience to make in-app purchases in the game. So yeah, think about their motivations, about what might catch their attention, and Sometimes even tell the users what to do in the ads, which really, really works. Some tips for hyper-casual advertisers in particular. So optimize the gameplay for ads in advance. Think when you are creating a game, when you are making the visuals and the gameplay, the core gameplay, think about how it will look in ads. Now, I think that this is pretty obvious, but I cannot stress this enough, how much it is important. And really something that is attention grabbing in the gameplay can help you a lot with promotion and with marketing. So yeah, short videos. They're all about it as well. Use different variations of ad length, specifically videos. So again, the more the better. Playables actually work quite well. And combining playables with videos works quite well too. And sound effects are pretty cool. And a lot of users actually watch ads with the audio turned on. So this is really effective. Here are some ad examples. Now, this is not a hyper-casual game, obviously, but I think that the gameplay in Subway Surfers is like, it resonates with some hyper-casual gameplays, and you can see the variety of different like approaches to presenting content in the game that they used in different ads. So it's not just the gameplay, which is really like cool and pretty and satisfying, but also like influencers and stories and challenges and stuff like this, which is, of course, now it's a big game. They have a lot of budgets for creation, for ad creation, but just keep in mind that if you can introduce variety into your creatives, it's really going to work to your advantage. And that's pretty much it. Thank you very much.